Alright, welcome to another part of my World Cup preview series. We now have arrived at the final team of Group C, which is Slovenia. Slovenia is perhaps quite an unknown team. They were once before at the World Cup in 2002, and back then they lost all three games, so didn't make much of an impression. But that was really their heyday. In Euro 2000, they were also there. They got two decent draws and one loss, and they ended up going out in the first round Euro 2000 as well. So 2000, 2002 were their best years. Back then they had the striker Zlatko Zahovic, which was an excellent player. Scored a lot of goals for them. Is still their all-time top scorer. And before that, of course, they were part of Yugoslavia, so they did participate as part of Yugoslavia in the past. But as Slovenia, those were the best years. Since then, they've been kind of sliding downwards in European qualification for either European Championship or World Cups. They've been coming in third or fourth in groups instead of first or second, which is necessary. So, and I didn't really expect them to make it this time, but they came in second in their qualification group, ahead of Poland and the Czech Republic, which was quite a surprise. If you ask me, I mean, Poland and Czech Republic usually would be considered better teams, but both had a bad qualification run, didn't play very well, and Slovenia took advantage. But not only Slovenia, also Slovakia. The teams you would usually expect to come in third and fourth in this group came in first and second, so now they're both at the World Cup. Well, more power to them. Slovenia came in second, so that means they needed a playoff, and they did very well because they beat Russia. They played, especially at home, they won 1-0, but they played quite well and they created a lot of chances. And they had every right to claim their place at the World Cup because of that game. So, Slovenia's there instead of Russia. Quite a surprise as well. But let's see how they can do in this group. Algeria, USA, and England are the opponents. It's going to be tough for them to get anywhere, but you never know. Let's look at the squad. You look at the team. Most famous players, perhaps the goalkeeper, quite unusual. That's Samir Handanovic. He's been a very consistent goalkeeper in the Serie A, the Italian league, for Udinese. Not a bad team. So he's been their main player, really. And they got another in defense. They got Branko Ilic, who plays for Lokomotiv Moscow. He's a decent player. They've got, two players from Chievo Verona in Italy as well. Bostian Cesar and Bojan Jokic. Those are decent players. Another guy called on the midfield, Robert Koren, who plays for West Bromwich Albion. And in midfield, we also have a young talent called Rene Krin. And he's come on as a substitute a few times. He plays for Inter Milan, quite a big team, but he's been mostly playing for the second team. But he did make 5 appearances this season. So he's a young talent, but he's only 20 years old. So perhaps we'll hear more from him in the future. And I think up front, they have a good striker called Milivoje Novakovic. He's really the Zlatko Zahovic of this day. He's an excellent free kick taker. Scored 2 free kicks recently in a friendly. And he should be the main goal scoring guy. If you look at the rest of the team, most of them play for somewhat smaller leagues. And if they play in the big leagues, they play for smaller teams. And they're not always starters. A bit like Algeria, is a rather unknown team. In that respect, but we saw against Russia they can play quite well. Of course, they had the home crowd behind them, we'll have to wait and see how they do this time around. Usually they play rather defensively, but against Russia they put pressure on them, and in the away game against Russia you could see it very clearly. They played defensively. Russia dominated the whole game, created most of the chances, scored 2 goals, and everybody thought, well, that's it, Slovenia is out, Russia's through. but then Slovenia got the 2-1 right at the end of the game, which of course crucial in these types of playoffs, because the away goal counts double in the case of a draw. So they lost 2-1 against Russia, but beat them 1-0. So then they go through, even though both teams won one game, and the goal difference was the same. They scored an away goal, so they go through. So they were quite lucky to get that result away from home, but at home they played quite well. Furthermore, if you look at the friendlies, they've played since then, since the game in Russia, they've played 2 friendlies recently. They played New Zealand last week. They beat them 3-1. Well, New Zealand is also a World Cup team, so that's a good result. And before that, in March, they also played Qatar, beat them 4-1. So their last 3 official games have been a 1-0 victory over Russia, a 4-1 victory over Qatar, and a 3-1 victory over New Zealand. So they're coming in on 3 wins, quite confident, I would expect. So yeah, who knows what Slovenia can do. I think it's going to be very tough for them to get past England and the USA. But yeah, if they want to get a win, if they want to get a good start, of course the first game's crucial. The first game they play is against Algeria. Both Algeria and Slovenia, if they want to have a chance in this group, they're going to have to win that game. And a draw really does them, both of them, not a lot of good. So yeah, we'll see what happens when they play. But I'll give you my prediction on what I think will happen later in the final prediction video for Group C. Anyway, that's it for my analysis of Slovenia. Thanks again for listening.